Welcome to Whisper English. Today our video is called Why People Give Up in English. We all start with a big, happy dream to learn. But soon we hit a tall wall of grammar, we feel afraid to speak, and we feel lost when people talk very fast. Learning becomes boring, our lives get very busy, and our hearts feel very tired. Do you feel this tired heart? Please relax and watch this video until the very end. We will look at these difficult feelings together, and you will find the warm, gentle hope to try again. Chapter 1. The Big Dream. The morning sun is very bright and very warm. It shines on the window of a small room. Inside the room, a person sits at a wooden table. This person has a very big dream. The dream is to speak English. In the heart of the learner, there is a small fire of hope. This fire is bright and very strong. Today is the first day of the journey. The learner goes to a small shop and buys a new notebook. The notebook is white and very clean. The paper smells like fresh trees. The learner also buys many colorful pens. There's a blue pen, a green pen, and a red pen. The colors are very pretty. The learner feels very happy and very excited. The learner thinks about the future. In the dream, the learner is standing in a big city. The city is full of tall buildings and many people. The people speak English. The learner speaks English too. They talk about the weather, they talk about food, and they talk about life. The words come out of the mouth like a gentle stream of water. It feels very easy and very natural. The learner smiles because the dream is so beautiful. It is a dream of freedom. It is a dream of making many new friends from far away. The learner feels like a bird that is ready to fly high in the blue sky. The first page of the notebook is waiting. The learner writes the first word, hello. It is a simple word, but it is a very important word. It is the start of a long path. The learner says the word out loud. Hello. The sound is soft in the quiet room. The learner says it again and again. Hello, hello, hello. Each time the heart feels a little bit faster. The sun stays warm on the table. The tea in the cup is sweet and very hot. Everything feels perfect. There is no fear today. There is no worry today. There is only the big dream and the new notebook. The learner looks at the colorful pens. The blue pen is for new words. The green pen is for happy feelings. The learner writes more words. Apple, sun, water, friend. These are small words, but they are like small seeds. The learner knows that if they water the seeds every day, a big tree will grow. The tree will have many leaves and many fruits. The fruits are the English sentences. The learner feels very patient and very calm. The world feels big and full of many good things. The learner is a student now. To be a student is a very good thing. It means the mind is opening like a flower in the morning. In this first chapter, everything is easy. The learner watches a video of a teacher. The teacher has a kind face and a slow voice. The teacher says, "You can do it." The learner believes the teacher. The learner thinks, "Yes, I can do it. I will study every morning and every night." The motivation is like a big wave in the ocean. It is powerful and it carries the learner forward. The learner does not see the big mountains yet. The learner does not see the rain yet. There's only the bright sun and the big dream. The learner thinks about the podcast they like. The voice in the podcast is slow and gentle. It is like a friend talking in the garden. The learner listens and repeats the words. This is called shadowing. It is a slow practice, but it is a good practice. The learner feels the shape of the English words in the mouth. It feels new and a little bit strange, but it feels very good. The learner is very proud of the new notebook. The first page is now full of words and colors. The learner closes the notebook and touches the cover. It is a promise to keep going, a promise to reach the dream. The heart is full of peace. The day is beautiful and the journey has begun. It is a very happy thought. Chapter 2. The Wall of Grammar. The next week arrives and the bright sun is still in the sky, but the room feels a little bit different today. The learner opens the white notebook and looks at the beautiful words from the first day. The words apple and sun are still there, looking very friendly. But today, the learner opens a new book. This book is not about simple objects. This book is about the rules of the language. This book is about grammar. Suddenly, the journey feels a little bit slower. The learner sees many tables and many boxes. There are rules for the past, rules for the present, and rules for the future. The learner looks at a sentence and tries to understand. Why does the word change? Why is there an S at the end of this word? The learner feels a little bit confused. The confusion is like a small cloud covering the bright sun. The learner picks up the blue pen. They try to write a sentence about the morning, the sunshine, but the book says no. The book says it must be the sun shines. The learner stops and thinks. One small letter, S, feels very big. It feels like a small stone in a shoe. Then the learner sees the irregular verbs. These are words that do not follow the rules. They are like naughty children who do not listen. The learner writes, I go, but the past is not I goed, the past is I went. The learner sighs. The learner rubs their eyes because they feel a little bit tired. The grammar book is very thick and very heavy. It feels like a big wall made of gray stones. The learner stands in front of the wall and looks up. The wall is very high. The wall is very long. The big dream from chapter 1 is on the other side of this wall. The learner sits very still. The tea on the table is now cold. The green pen and the red pen are quiet. The learner thinks about the Whisper English video. The voice in the video makes everything sound so easy and so gentle. But the grammar book feels hard and cold. The learner tries to remember the rules for have and has. They try to remember the rules for do and does. It feels like a puzzle with too many pieces. Sometimes the pieces do not fit together. The learner feels a little bit frustrated. The frustration is a prickly feeling in the chest. Why is English so difficult? The learner asks the quiet room. The room does not answer. Only the sound of the wind is at the window. The wind is moving the trees outside. The trees do not worry about grammar. They just grow. The learner decides to try again. They write a new list of rules in the notebook. They use the red pen to mark the mistakes. Soon, there is a lot of red ink on the white paper. The red ink looks like little warnings. The learner feels a little bit sad. They think, in my dream I was speaking so fast. But here I am stuck on one small rule. The learner looks at the wall of grammar again. It is not a wall of bricks. It is a wall of if and but and why. The learner feels small, like a tiny ant trying to climb a mountain of sand. Every time the ant climbs up, the sand moves and the ant slides down. It is a very slow process. The learner takes a deep breath. The breath is long and shaky. The learner thinks about the people on YouTube. They make grammar look like a game, but for the learner, it feels like a test that never ends. The learner wonders if they are smart enough. Maybe my brain is too old, they think. Maybe my memory is too weak. These are dark thoughts. They are like shadows in the corner of the room. The learner looks at the colorful pens. The pens are still beautiful, but the learner does not feel like drawing today. The learner only feels like staring at the gray wall. The grammar wall is the first place where people start to think about stopping. It is the place where the big dream meets the hard work, but the learner is still sitting at the table. They do not close the book yet. They look at one rule. Just one. I am, you are, he is. They say it 10 times. They say it 20 times. The repetition is like a small hammer hitting the gray stone. I am, you are, he is. Slowly, a tiny piece of the stone breaks away. It is a very small victory, but it is a victory. The learner feels a little bit better. The wall is still there, but the learner is still there too. The journey is not a fast race. It is a slow walk. The learner writes one correct sentence with the blue pen. I am a student. The sentence is simple, but it is true. The learner looks at the sentence and feels a tiny spark of hope again. The spark is small, but it is not gone. The wall of grammar is big, but the learner's heart is still trying to be strong. The learner closes the book for today. The mind is full of rules, and the heart is full of questions. The sun is going down and the room is becoming dark. Tomorrow is a new day to face the wall. Chapter 3. The Quiet Room. The learner moves past the wall of grammar and enters a new place. This place is called the quiet room. In this room, the learner knows some words and some rules, but their mouth stays closed. The learner wants to speak, but the words feel like heavy stones in the throat. The learner is very afraid. They are afraid of the air. They are afraid of the sound of their own voice. The fear is a cold feeling in the hands. Every time the learner thinks about speaking, the heart begins to drum. Thump, thump, thump. The heart is like a little bird hitting its wings against a cage. The learner thinks, if I speak, I will make a mistake. If I make a mistake, people will see my weakness. This thought is very loud in the quiet room. The learner goes to a meeting or a class. There are other people there. Some people are talking and laughing. The learner sits in a chair and feels very small. A person looks at the learner and asks a simple question. How are you today? The learner knows the answer. The answer is in the brain. The answer is, I am fine, thank you, but the mouth does not move. The learner feels the heat rising in their face. The face becomes red like a summer apple. The learner looks down at their shoes. The shoes are brown and silent. The learner says nothing. The silence is very long. The silence feels like a thick fog that fills the room. Finally, the learner whispers, fine. The word is so small and so weak. It is like a dry leaf falling on the grass. The learner feels a lot of shame. The shame is a heavy weight on the shoulders. After the meeting, the learner walks home. The street is busy, but the learner is in their own quiet room inside the head. Why did I not say more? The learner asks. I know the words, I have the notebook, I have the colorful pens, but I am a coward. The learner is very hard on themselves. They forget that learning is a process of being brave. They only see the silence. They think that everyone is looking at them and judging them. They think people are laughing inside their hearts. This is a very sad thought. It makes the world feel cold and gray. The quiet room is a lonely place to live. The learner goes back to the wooden table. The notebook is there. The Bookish English podcast is playing on the phone. The voice is gentle and says, "It is okay to be quiet. It is okay to reach for the words slowly." The learner listens and feels a little bit of comfort, but the quiet room is still there. The learner tries to speak to the mirror. They look at their own eyes in the glass. "Hello, how are you?" they say to the mirror. In the mirror it is easy. The mirror does not judge. The mirror does not laugh. But when the learner thinks about a real person, the throat closes again. The fear of being wrong is like a big lock on a door. The learner has the key, but they are too shaking to use it. Every day, the learner stays in the quiet room. They study and they read, but they do not use the language with the world. The language is like a beautiful bird kept in a cage. The bird has wings, but it never flies. The learner thinks, "I will speak when I am perfect. I will speak when I know every rule and every word." But perfection is a very high mountain that no one can reach. By waiting for perfection, the learner stays in the silence. The quiet room becomes a habit. It is a safe place, but it is also a prison. There is no growth in the quiet room. There is only the sound of pages turning and the sound of a ticking clock. The learner starts to feel that English is a secret. It is a secret that stays in the notebook and in the head. It does not come out into the sunshine. The learner feels a little bit tired of the silence. They want to break the lock. They want to open the window and let the words fly. But the fear of the mistake is still very strong. The mistake is seen as a monster. The learner does not know yet that a mistake is actually a teacher. A mistake is a friend that shows the way. In the quiet room there are no monsters, but there are also no friends. It is just the learner and the silence. The silence is the reason why many people stop. They think the quiet room will never end. They think they will always be afraid. The heart feels heavy and the journey feels very, very quiet today. Chapter 4. The Fast Talkers. The learner leaves the quiet room and tries to listen to the world. They feel a little bit better, so they turn on the television or open a video on the internet. They want to hear real English. They want to hear the music of the language. But suddenly a big shock arrives. The people on the screen are talking very, very fast. The words are not like the slow and gentle words of the Bookish English podcast. No, these words are like a racing car on a track. They zoom past the learner's ears. The learner sits on the sofa and feels very confused. They hear gonna and wanna and gotta. These are not the words in the clean white notebook. These are not the words from the grammar wall. The learner thinks, what is happening? Is this even English? The confusion is like a big, cold wave of water hitting the learner in the face. It is a very surprising and very scary feeling today. The learner tries to catch one word. Just one. But before the brain can understand the first word, the speaker has already said 10 more words. It is like trying to catch a fast bird with bare hands. The bird is too quick, and the hands are too slow. The learner feels a little bit dizzy. The head feels like it is spinning around and around. In the first chapter, the dream was easy. In the second chapter, the rules were hard. In the third chapter, the silence was heavy. But here, in the fourth chapter, the speed is the enemy. The learner feels like they are standing in the middle of a very busy street in a big city. Cars are honking, people are shouting, and everything is moving too fast. The learner wants to say, "Please slow down. Please speak like my teacher." But the world does not stop for the learner. The world is in a big hurry. The learner looks at the colorful pens on the table. They look at the blue pen and the green pen. They feel a little bit of regret. I studied so hard, the learner thinks. I wrote so many words, I learned so many rules, but I still understand nothing. This thought is very painful. It is like a small cut on the finger. It stings and it hurts. The learner feels like a failure. They think that their ears are broken or that their brain is too slow to catch the sounds. They do not know that every learner feels this way. They do not know that the fast talkers are just using a natural rhythm. To the learner, it feels like a secret code that they cannot break. The code is locked, and the learner does not have the key today. The learner feels very far away from the big dream now. The learner tries to watch a movie with no subtitles. They sit very close to the screen. They listen very carefully. They do not breathe. They are like a hunter in the forest waiting for a sound. But the movie is full of slang and fast jokes. The actors speak with their mouths half closed. They swallow the ends of the words. The learner only hears mumble, mumble, mumble. It is a very lonely sound. The learner feels like a stranger in a foreign land. Even in their own home, with the tea and the notebook, they feel lost. The loss of understanding is a very heavy burden. It makes the learner want to turn off the television and sit in the dark. The dark is quiet, and the dark does not speak fast. In the dark, there is no pressure to understand the rushing river of words. The learner thinks about the future again. If I cannot understand a simple movie, how can I talk to a real person? They ask, how can I work in a big office? How can I travel to a new country? The mountain of English feels even higher than before. It is not just a mountain of books. It is a mountain of sound. The sound is loud and the sound is fast. The learner feels very tired in the heart. The energy from the first day is fading away. The big dream is becoming a small gray shadow. The learner feels like they are walking against a very strong wind. The wind is pushing them back. The wind is saying, "Go home, stop trying. You are too slow for this world." This is the voice of the fast talkers in the learner's head. It is a very discouraging voice. The learner closes their eyes. They remember the slow voice of the podcast. "One step at a time," the voice says. "One word at a time?" The learner tries to find a little bit of peace. They know they must be patient, but patience is very hard when the world is so fast. The learner decides to listen to just 1 minute of the fast video again. They listen and they hear the word today. Just one word, they recognize it. It is a very small victory. It is like finding a tiny gold coin in a big pile of sand. But is one word enough? The learner is not sure. They feel a little bit of doubt. The doubt is a cold shadow that follows the learner everywhere. The fourth chapter is a test of the ears, but it is also a test of the soul. The learner is very, very tired of trying to catch the birds. Chapter 5. The boring routine. The excitement of the first day is now a distant memory, like a dream that happened a very long time ago. The colorful pens are still on the table, but the blue pen is missing its cap, and the red pen is running out of ink. The learner wakes up and looks at the clock. It is time to study English again. But today, the heart does not feel the fire. The heart feels like a cold fireplace with only gray ash inside. The learner looks at the white notebook and the thick grammar book. They feel a heavy weight in the stomach. This weight is called boredom. The boredom is a slow, gray fog that fills the room and makes everything look dull. The learner thinks, I have to do this again. I have to read these same words. I have to listen to these same sounds. It is not a fun adventure anymore. It is a chore like washing the dishes or sweeping the floor. The routine is very long and very flat, like a road with no trees and no turns. The learner sits down at the wooden table. The tea is warm, but the learner does not taste it. They open the book to page 50. They read the same sentences about the weather and the family. The sky is blue. My mother is a doctor. The cat is on the mat. These words are very simple, but they are also very boring. The learner knows these words already, but they feel they must repeat them. The repetition was a friend in the beginning, but now the repetition is a ghost. It haunts the learner every morning. The learner feels like a machine. Press a button, hear a word. Press a button, write a rule. There is no magic in the machine. There is only the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Tick, 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 tick. Every tick is a second of the learner's life going away into the gray routine. The learner looks out the window. The world outside is full of colors. Children are playing with a red ball. A dog is barking at a yellow butterfly. The sun is shining on the green grass. The learner wants to go outside and play too. They want to forget about the irregular verbs and the fast talkers. They want to be free from the prison of the notebook. But the learner thinks, if I stop, I will fail. If I do not study for 1 hour today, I am a bad student. This pressure makes the boredom even worse. It makes the English language feel like a heavy chain around the neck. The chain is strong and the chain is cold. The learner feels very tired. They are not tired from running. They are tired from staying still in the same routine for too many days. The learner tries to change the routine. They move to a different chair. They use a purple pen instead of a blue pen, but the feeling stays the same. The Bookish English podcast is playing, but the learner is not really listening. The gentle voice becomes like background noise, like the sound of a fan or the sound of the rain. The brain is not catching the seeds anymore. The brain is closed like a door with a heavy lock. The learner thinks about the YouTube channels. They see teachers saying, "Learn English in 10 minutes," or "Have fun with English." The learner feels a little bit of anger. It is not fun, the learner whispers to the quiet room. It is not fast. It is just a long, boring road. The anger is small, but it is there. It is the sound of a heart that is losing its passion. In this chapter, many people put the book in the drawer and walk away. They say, "I will do it next week," but next week never comes. The boring routine is a very dangerous enemy. It does not hit you like a big wave. It just slowly eats your time and your hope. It is like a small leak in a boat. You do not see the water at first, but slowly the boat becomes heavy and starts to sink. The learner feels the water around their ankles. They feel the heaviness of the routine. They look at the big dream from chapter 1. The dream is now behind a cloud of boredom. The city with the tall buildings and the English friends looks like a fairy tale that is not true. The learner feels very, very lonely in the routine. The learner closes the notebook before the hour is finished. They stand up and walk away from the table. The books stay there, waiting in the silence. The learner goes to the kitchen and looks at the sink. Even the dishes look more interesting than the grammar rules today. The learner is losing the why of the journey. They're just moving their hands and their eyes, but their soul is sleeping. The routine has stolen the joy of the language. The language was a bird, but now it is just a piece of paper. The 5th chapter is a very gray chapter. It is the middle of the mountain, where you cannot see the bottom and you cannot see the top. There's only the gray rock and the long, boring path. The learner is very, very tired of the same old words. Chapter 6. The Comparison Trap. The learner leaves the boring routine and picks up their phone. They want to find a little bit of motivation, so they open a social media app. But inside the phone, there is a very dangerous trap. This is the comparison trap. The learner sees a video of a girl from a different country. She is very young and very pretty. She speaks English very, very fast. Her accent is perfect, like a person from London or New York. She smiles and says, "I learned English in only 3 months. It was so easy and so much fun." The learner looks at the girl and feels a sharp pain in the heart. This pain is called envy. It is a cold and bitter feeling. The learner thinks, "I have studied for 1 year. I have filled 1 whole notebook with words. But I cannot speak like her. Why am I so slow? Why is my brain so thick?" The comparison is like a dark mirror. It only shows the learner's weaknesses and never shows the learner's strength. The learner scrolls down and sees another person. This person is a businessman. He is talking about his big success in a famous company. He speaks English with no mistakes. He uses big words and complicated grammar. The learner feels even smaller now. They look at their own hands and their own simple blue pen. They feel like a child playing with a toy while the world is full of giants. The big dream from chapter 1 starts to feel like a lie. The learner thinks, maybe these people are special. Maybe they have a secret magic. I'm just a normal person with a normal life. I will never be like them. The comparison trap is a very deep hole. Once you fall inside, it is very hard to climb out. The walls of the hole are made of not good enough and too slow. The learner sits in the dark hole and feels very, very sad today. The learner goes back to the wooden table, but they do not open the grammar book. They just stare at the cover. They remember the bookish English podcast and the gentle voice. But now that voice feels too slow. The learner wants to be fast. They want to be perfect like the people on the screen. They forget that the people on the screen only show the good parts. They do not show the hours of crying. They do not show the hundreds of mistakes. They do not show the boring routine. The learner only sees the finish line, but they are still running the race. It is not fair to compare your beginning to someone else's ending. But the learner does not know this yet. The learner only knows the weight of the heavy heart. The heart is like a stone in the bottom of a deep well. The green pen and the red pen look dull now. Even the sun through the window looks a little bit gray. The learner thinks about their own progress. Yesterday they learned 5 new words. They were proud yesterday. But today, after seeing the perfect people, those 5 words feel like nothing. 5 words is a drop of water in the ocean, the learner sighs. The joy of the small victory is stolen by the giant success of others. The comparison trap is a thief. It steals your happiness and it steals your peace. The learner feels like they are walking in a race where everyone else has a bicycle or a car, but they are walking on bare feet. The feet are sore and the road is very long. The learner wants to sit down on the grass and never get up again. The learner looks at their white notebook. They see the word hello on the first page. They remember how happy they were to write that word. But now, hello feels too simple. They want to say big things, but they only have small words. The gap between what they want and what they can do is very wide. It is a big canyon with no bridge. The learner stands at the edge of the canyon and looks across. The perfect people are on the other side, laughing and talking. The learner is alone on the quiet side. The loneliness is a very cold wind. It blows away the fire of hope. The learner feels like a failure because they are not a genius. They forget that a tree grows very slowly, 1 inch at a time. They want to be the big tree today, but they are still a small seed in the dirt. The day ends and the phone is finally turned off. The room is quiet, but the learner's mind is very loud. It is full of voices saying, "You are not good enough. Look at her, look at him. You're failing." The learner lies in bed and looks at the ceiling. The big dream of the city and the English friends feels very far away, like a star in the sky. The star is beautiful, but it is too high to touch. The learner feels a little bit of salt in their eyes. It is a tear of frustration. The comparison trap has made the journey a competition. And in this competition, the learner feels they are in last place. It is a very heavy and very tired thought. The 6th chapter is a chapter of shadows. The learner is losing sight of their own path because they are looking at the path of others. Chapter 7. The Long Plateau. The learner moves past the dark shadows of comparison and tries to focus on the wooden table once again. They have been studying for many months now. The first notebook is full, and the second notebook is halfway finished. The blue pen has been replaced 3 times. By now, the learner expects to feel like a master. They expect to fly, but instead, the learner feels like they are walking on a very long, very flat plane. This is the long plateau. In the beginning, every day was a mountain of new things. Every day, the learner could see they were higher than yesterday. But now, they study for 1 hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours, and they feel exactly the same. They look at the words and the words are familiar, but the click in the brain does not happen. The progress has stopped moving up. It is just a straight line that goes on forever and ever. The learner feels like a traveler in a desert where the sand is the same in every direction. The learner opens the Bookish English podcast. The voice is still gentle and the words are still clear. The learner understands almost everything in the podcast now. This should be a happy thing, but for the learner, it feels like a trap. They think, I understand this slow English, but I cannot move to the next level. I am stuck in the middle. The middle is a very difficult place to be. It is not the beginning where everything is new, and it is not the end where everything is easy. It is the long, gray middle. The learner tries to read a real book, but it is too hard. They go back to the children's book, but it is too easy. There is no bridge between the two. The learner feels like they are standing in the center of a very large lake. They are swimming and swimming, but the shore is not getting any closer. The water is cool, but the arms are getting very heavy. The colorful pens are still there, but the learner does not use the red pen for mistakes as much. They make fewer mistakes now, but they also use the same simple sentences. I like coffee. I go to work. The weather is nice. The learner wants to say beautiful, deep things. They want to explain their soul and their history, but the words are not there. The plateau is a place of good enough, but good enough feels like a failure to a person with a big dream. The learner looks at the white paper and feels a little bit of boredom mixed with sadness. They think, is this it? Is this the end of my brain? Have I reached my limit? This thought is like a cold stone. It does not move. It just sits there and makes the journey feel very, very heavy today. The sun is high in the sky, but the learner feels like they are in a room with no windows. They repeat the same shadowing technique every day. They listen, they speak, they write. They are very disciplined, but the feeling of growth is gone. It is like a plant that has stopped growing leaves. The roots are there, but the height is the same. The learner starts to lose the feeling of the language. English starts to feel like a math problem that has no answer. The magic of Chapter 1, the smell of the new paper, the bright colors, the big hope is buried under the dust of the plateau. The learner feels like a ghost in their own study room. They move the pens, they turn the pages, but the spirit is tired. The repetition that was once a comfort is now a weight. The learner looks at the big dream again. The city with the tall buildings, and the English-speaking friends feels like a photograph that is fading in the sun. The colors are turning gray. The learner thinks, maybe I will always be a medium student. Maybe I will never be good. This is a very lonely realization. On the plateau, you are alone with your own silence. There are no fast talkers to fight, and there are no grammar walls to climb. There's only the long, flat road. Many people walk off the road here. They do not quit because it is too hard. They quit because it feels like nothing is happening. They think they are wasting their time. The learner looks at the clock. 5 minutes have passed. It felt like an hour. The time on the plateau is very slow and very heavy. The day ends with the notebook half open. The learner does not feel proud today. They just feel empty. They have done the work, but the reward is hidden. The plateau is a test of faith. It asks the learner, will you keep walking even if you cannot see the finish line? Will you keep swimming even if the shore is invisible? The learner does not have an answer yet. They just have a tired heart and a long road ahead. The 7th chapter is the longest chapter of all. It is the place where the big dream goes to die or where it becomes a real, strong life. The learner turns off the light. The room is dark, and the plateau is waiting for them again tomorrow. It is a very quiet and very long night. Chapter 8. The busy life. The learner wakes up, but the sun does not feel like a friend today. The sun is a clock, and the clock is moving very, very fast. In the first chapter, the learner had a lot of time. The wooden table was a peaceful island, but today the world is very loud and very crowded. There's a lot of work to do. There are many emails to write in the morning. There are many meetings to attend in the afternoon. There's a family that needs food and love in the evening. The learner looks at the white notebook, but the notebook is covered by a pile of bills and a heavy laptop. The English language, once a beautiful dream, is now just another item on a very long list of chores. The learner feels a heavy pressure in the chest. This pressure is the busy life. It is like a thick, overgrown garden that is hiding the path to the big city. The learner picks up the blue pen, but the phone rings. It is a boss, it is a friend. It is a problem that needs a fast answer. The learner puts the pen down. I will study for 10 minutes later, the learner says to the quiet room. But later is a very tricky word. Later becomes the afternoon. The afternoon becomes the evening. The evening becomes the night. By the time the house is quiet and the tea is made, the learner is exhausted. The brain feels like a dry sponge. It cannot take any more water. The learner looks at the grammar book, but the words look like blurry ants crawling on the page. The eyes close and the head nods. The learner is too tired to fight the irregular verbs. The busy life is a silent thief. It does not say stop, it just says not today, and not today is a very dangerous habit for a student. The learner feels a lot of guilt. The guilt is a bitter taste in the mouth. They remember the promise they made to themselves in Chapter 1. They remember the bookish English podcast and the goal of shadowing every day. But now, the shadowing is replaced by the sounds of the city and the sounds of the office. The learner thinks, I am failing my dream. I am letting the fire go out, but the body is weak and the schedule is full. There's no space for the big dream in a small, busy day. The learner feels like a person trying to carry too many heavy bags. One bag is work, one bag is family, and the smallest bag is English. To keep walking, the learner must drop one bag. Usually the smallest bag is the first one to fall onto the dusty road. The colorful pens stay in the drawer now. The red pen is lonely and the green pen is forgotten. The learner starts to feel that English is a luxury they cannot afford. Maybe English is for people with no jobs, they think. Maybe it is for people with no children. The learner feels a little bit of resentment toward their own life. They love their work and their family, but they hate that there is no time for the soul. The busy life makes the learner feel like a machine that only works and sleeps. There's no time for the beauty of a new language. The big dream starts to look like a childhood toy, something cute, but not for a serious adult. The learner looks at the clock again. It is midnight. The day is over and the notebook is still closed. The learner tries to listen to English while driving or while cooking. This is a good idea, but the mind is not there. The mind is thinking about the meeting tomorrow or the grocery list for the supermarket. The English words go into the ears and go out of the head. They do not stay. They do not plant any seeds. The busy life is like a strong wind that blows the seeds away before they can touch the ground. The learner feels very frustrated. They want to be a student again, but they are stuck being a worker. The journey feels like it is stopping, not because the learner is lazy, but because the world is too heavy. The 8th chapter is a chapter of many excuses. Each excuse is true, but each excuse is a brick in a new wall. The learner goes to sleep with a heavy heart. They promise, tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow I will find the time. But in the back of the mind, a small voice whispers, no, you won't. Tomorrow is just as busy as today. The learner tries to ignore the voice, but the voice is very persistent. The busy life has stolen the peace of the study room. The big dream is now a big stress. The learner is losing the joy of the journey because they are running a race with no finish line. The tea is cold, the light is off, and the notebook is hidden under the weight of the world. It is a very tired and very crowded ending to the day. Chapter 9. The Missing Why. The learner wakes up in a gray room where the sun feels very far away. The white notebook is still on the table, but it is covered in a thin layer of dust. The blue pen and the red pen are cold to the touch. The learner looks at the books, but they do not feel the spark of the first day. They do not feel the anger of the grammar wall. They do not even feel the boredom of the routine. Instead, they feel a very large emptiness. This emptiness is called the missing why. The learner asks the quiet room, why am I doing this? Why am I spending my precious time on these strange words? The question is very heavy and very dark. It sits in the middle of the room like a giant shadow. The learner remembers the big dream from chapter 1, but now the dream feels like a story about a different person. It does not feel like their own story anymore. The learner thinks about the city with the tall buildings and the English-speaking friends. Do I really need those friends? The learner whispers. Is my life not good enough right now? The reason for the journey is lost, like a small key dropped in a very deep ocean. Without the why, every English word feels like a heavy stone. The learner picks up a book, but they do not see the beauty of the language. They only see a list of tasks. They only see a mountain of work with no reward at the top. The Bookish English podcast is playing, but the gentle voice sounds like a stranger. The learner is not a student today. They are just a person with a book they do not want to read. The missing why is a very dangerous place. It is the place where the heart stops trying to beat for the dream. The learner walks to the window and looks at the street. People are walking, cars are moving, and life is happening without English. The learner thinks, I can eat, I can sleep, and I can work in my own language. My own language is warm and safe. English is cold and difficult. The motivation that was once a big wave in the ocean is now a tiny puddle of water on the ground. The learner feels a little bit of shame, but mostly they feel a great relief to let go. They think about the hours they spent shadowing and writing. What was the point? They ask. The missing why makes all the past effort look like a mistake. It makes the big dream look like a foolish idea. The learner is losing their identity as a learner. They are becoming a person who used to study English. The colorful pens stay in the drawer, and the drawer is closed. The learner does not look for the green pen for happy feelings because the happy feelings are gone. The learner feels like a boat with no map and no destination. They are just floating in the dark water. They think about the storyteller prompt and the 40 short stories they wanted to hear. But today they do not want a story. They want to be finished with the struggle. The missing why is a silent thief of the soul. It does not shout. It just removes the foundation of the house. Without the foundation, The house starts to lean and the walls start to crack. The learner is watching their English house fall down, and they do not move a finger to save it. They are too tired to care about the ruins. The learner thinks about the people on YouTube and the people on the podcast. They have a reason, the learner thinks. They have a fire. My fire is out. The learner feels a cold wind in the chest. They remember the excitement of the new notebook and the smell of the fresh paper. That memory feels like 1,000 years ago. The big dream is now a missing dream. The learner is standing in a desert with no water and no stars. They are not lost because they are not looking for a path. They have stopped looking. They have stopped wanting. The 9th chapter is a very hollow chapter. It is the sound of an empty cup hitting a wooden floor. The learner is alone with the silence, and the silence is winning. The day ends with the light turned off early. The learner does not say good night in English to the mirror. They do not think about a single word. The why is a ghost that has left the house. The learner lies in the dark and feels a strange peace that comes from giving up. It is a sad peace, like a garden that is covered in snow. Nothing is growing and nothing is moving. The missing why has turned the journey into a circle that leads to nowhere. The learner is very, very close to the end of the road. The heart is quiet, the mind is still, and the notebook is forgotten in the shadows of the room. It is a very empty and very lonely night for the dreamer who has lost the dream. Chapter 10. The Tired Heart. The final morning arrives and the room is very, very still. The learner does not reach for the colorful pens. They do not look for the white notebook. The notebook is now at the bottom of a heavy stack of papers, hidden and cold. The learner sits in the wooden chair, but they do not feel like a student today. They feel like a traveler who has walked 1,000 miles only to find a locked door. This is the tired heart. The tired heart is not angry, and it is not even frustrated anymore. It is just finished. The energy that started as a bright fire in Chapter 1 has turned into cold, gray ash. The learner looks at the grammar book on the shelf and feels a deep sense of relief to leave it there. I am done, the learner whispers. The words are soft, but they are very heavy. They fall in the quiet room like stones into a dark well. The big dream of the city and the English friends is now just a ghost in a faded photograph. The learner thinks about the Bookish English podcast one last time. They remember the gentle voice and the slow stories about nature and food. They remember the feeling of hope that used to come with every word. But today, the voice feels like a message from a world they can no longer visit. The tired heart says, the mountain was too high, the wall was too thick. The road was too long. The learner looks at their hands. These hands wrote thousands of words. They practiced shadowing for many hours. They held the blue pen until the fingers were sore. But the learner feels that the effort was a drop of water in a vast, thirsty desert. The desert stayed dry, and the learner stayed thirsty. This realization is a very lonely and very cold shadow. It covers the wooden table and the colorful pens in a blanket of never again. The learner goes to the drawer and puts the green pen and the red pen inside. They close the drawer slowly. The sound of the drawer closing is like the sound of a door locking for the final time. The learner thinks about the YouTube channel and the Whisper English stories. I hope they are stronger than me, the learner thinks. There is no bitterness, only a quiet sadness. The learner feels like they are saying goodbye to a friend who is moving far away. The friend is the English language. They spent so much time together, but they never truly understood each other. The language stays a mystery, and the learner stays a stranger. The big dream is put away in a dark box in the back of the mind. The box is heavy and the box is silent. The sun begins to set, casting long orange shadows across the floor. The learner watches the dust dancing in the light. They think about the future, a future without English. It feels a little bit smaller, but it also feels much lighter. The pressure of the busy life and the comparison trap is gone. The weight of the long plateau is lifted from the shoulders, but the heart feels a little bit empty, like a house where no one lives. To give up is to find peace, but it is a peace that tastes like salt. It is the peace of an ending. The learner looks at the empty space on the table where the notebook used to be. The wood is smooth and bare. There are no more seeds to plant. There are no more trees to grow. The journey that started with a hello ends with a quiet silence. In this final chapter, the learner accepts the tired heart. They do not try to fix it. They do not try to find a new why. They simply let the story end. They forget the irregular verbs. They forget the fast talkers. They forget the colorful pens. The English language becomes a quiet memory of a time when they dared to dream a very big dream. The learner stands up and walks away from the table. They walk toward the window and look at the moon. The moon is white and cold in the night sky. The learner takes a long, deep breath. The breath is the last thing they do as a student. Tomorrow they will wake up as a different person. A person who does not study. A person who does not dream in English. The 10th chapter is the last page of the book. The ink is dry and the story is over. It is a very peaceful and very sad ending to the big adventure. I hope you enjoyed our time together. It is good to share these simple things with you. Please subscribe to my channel to see more videos. You can also leave a comment to say hello. Thank you and goodbye for now.